Every morning, the world starts quietly. One soft light at a time. Homes flicker awake, shops open. People take those first small steps into a brand new day. And in all of that ordinary movement, there's something kind of extraordinary. A moment worth noticing. A spark you feel before you even name it. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's small, but kindness shows up right on time. And every morning we choose to show up with you so we can look for that spark together.
Good morning. I'm Matt Roof, the Uncommon Kindness Guy, and this is Kindness Rising. Let's rise together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Kindness Rising. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're going to do a tribute to Bob Weir, founding member of the Grateful Dead, who passed away over the weekend at the age of 78. And if you know about this show, you know that that hit me. That hit me. And so today I'm going to pause, remember, and reflect and connect the dots between music, time, and kindness. Welcome.
This is Kindness Rising.
So I just had an insane coughing fit right before I hit the go live button. That's why it sounds like I'm catching my breath a little bit. But actually, I've been listening to Grateful Dead, hung my poster, since about 1986 was the first time I ever really started listening to the Grateful Dead. And I really started listening probably in 88. And then finally my full immersion with the band and the culture and the lifestyle and the ethos of the Grateful Dead during college in the early 90s. And so I was there for the late Jerry run. I was there for the end of Jerry, doing tape trading, really the golden era of tape trading. And when Jerry died in 1995, I felt it, but the truth was that I mostly experienced Jerry through tape. It was archival, right? But Bobby was live, right? He was the one that I saw over and over and over again, right? Different bands, different lineups, and different eras. There was Rat Dog, Phil and Friends, Further, Dead and Company, on and on and on. And he actually aged. We aged together in real time, you know? Some nights he led, some nights he fell back, but he was always present. And that was the Bobby that I knew, the Bobby that was always present. And like I said, we aged together. Certainly he had 25 years on me, but certainly his passing has had an impact on me. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the impact on me of Bob Weir and the Grateful Dead, and also how it impacts us here on Kindness Rising every day, because the Grateful Dead ethos is definitely, and pathos is definitely woven into me as part of who I am. But I'm going to start with a memory. Cooperstown, New York, home of the Baseball Hall of Fame, right there on Abner Doubleday Field. Bob and Phil and some other musicians set up later years. I think it was like 2012 or 13, so probably 10 to 15 years ago. They took over Abner Doubleday Field in Cooperstown, and buddy mine went up, and I went up to the show, and we managed to work our way up and get right up there in the front row. Summer air, we were having a good time, and we're waiting. The anticipation, it's still daylight. Bobby walks onto the stage completely barefoot, obviously. I mean, not obviously, but that was something he did, but barefoot. But when I tell you, he looked like he was wearing his pajamas from the 70s, and his hair was all over the place. He was completely disheveled. And we were looking at each other like, what? I hadn't seen him in a few years. And we're like, what happened? Is he okay? And then he started to play with Phil, and every concern melted away in the music. It was just awesome, right? And that was just Bobby being Bobby. And that was kind of the late, the metaphor for his late era career, which is what we do here. The truth is he wasn't falling apart, but he was rebuilding. Yoga before the shows. He was doing strength work, working out, breath work, vegan diet experiments, working with trainers and coaches, and slowly maturing into this strange fusion, kind of the cowboy, yogi, rock poet, aging athlete. It's amazing if you go out and spend some time. I actually did, and I was going to bring some, and I'm like, people don't want to watch Bob Weir working out, but I did. I was fascinated. 75 years old, cranking away on the weights and his yoga, and all the way through, living that true to those his values, right? What I loved about Bobby is, as I watched him, and as I look back on it right now, he was curious. He was just so curious about things, and he liked to ask questions and be a little bit of a prankster, and all the way up to the end, staying curious and staying interested. Even last year, when the Dead were honored at the Kennedy Center honors, just staying curious and humble, and he never stopped exploring. He talked about that all the time, right? That's what the Grateful Dead was exploration of things. I saw an interview with him a couple of years ago, and he said, I'm still not done with the music, right? I still have work to do with the music. It's pretty amazing. But anyway, he was thoughtful, he was playful, he was occasionally cosmic, like completely out there, wild. Obviously, when he walked into a banjo shop as a 16 or 17-year-old guy and ran into Jerry Garcia, and that was essentially the beginnings of the Grateful Dead, the introduction at 17 years old, and he died at 78 years old. 65 years, whatever. I mean, it's mind-boggling to me, and he played right up until the end. Yeah, so I don't know. I could go on, and I probably will, and I know I will, because that's what I'd planned for today. The comments are rushing in. The Grateful Dead, Evil Goose, love that. Renee, good morning. Daniel, Allison, hello. Pyro, not interested. That's okay. I appreciate you. Dog Lover 89, welcome in. And Ashwood, hi. Sorry, I missed you there, dude. Couple minutes, but I was just getting off on my Bobby Weir Grateful Dead discussion. I just appreciate that everybody has come in this morning and helping me. This has helped me tremendously to deal with this. I mean, I'm surprised at myself. I was actually talking to Keith Billis from Mornings in the Lab last night about it, and how surprising this was for me. Like, I knew it was going to come and whatever, but I'm like, yeah, Renee, you're choking up a bit. I was flat out crying last night. It just came as I was writing this, as I was thinking about my life, my own life, my own mortality, my aging, all those things of what's next, and how much Bobby's mentality and the Grateful Dead has influenced me. I mean, I've said it before, people might not really know. I listen to the Grateful Dead every day in some form, maybe not the actual Dead, but some form of Dead inspired music, whether it's one of the amazing bands that are going to continue the legacy of the Dead's music, bands like J-Rad, Joe Russo's Almost Dead, great great band, Billy Strings, honoring the dead all over the place with his music, and the music will never stop. It will go on, and the influence of that. Bobby was talking about it in an interview, and late in his life, and said, "I think it's possible that people will be talking about this in 300 years." He wanted that. That was a legacy he wanted, and I think that influence absolutely will live on the same way. I know it's probably might be blaspheme to some, but like Beethoven, Mozart, I mean, whatever. It's the circle, and to me, that's what it was, at least. And I bet people will still be connecting to the music. I hope they will. I hope they will. And I am. Good morning, Mom. Good morning, Roseanne Roof. My mom is out there. Um, yeah, people will be connecting to the music. I hope people will be connecting to the music. For me, Kinley Cower, welcome in. Glad you are here. Glad you've joined us here on Kindness Rising. Like, I come here every day, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, to get everybody up with a little bit of hope, humanity, and heart. And that's what we're doing today. Oh, so I was saying, I listen to the Dead every day in some form. And of course, being the geek that I can be sometimes, the loss of Bobby had me thinking, okay, let's do it. Let's calculate the actual amount of time, and as a measure of the impact of someone's life. So I ran numbers, and I ran conservatively, and I asked Chat GPT, does this sound reasonable or ridiculous or what? Like, I was digging in because I wanted it to be real. And I wanted it to be conservative because I knew it was going to be a big number. But conservatively, since I started listening to the Grateful Dead, over 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours, almost a full year of my life listening to the Grateful Dead. That's pretty huge. And there were a couple things about that really struck me. And maybe you have people that I don't want to make this all about me, but I am processing. Maybe there's someone that you might feel this way about too. And so I hope maybe this tracks for you to, whether it's it's just whatever's had influence in your life. It could be family, it could be an artist. I mean, it's pretty crazy. But one thing that struck me as I was thinking about this was that it's possible that, statistically speaking, just about the actual number of minutes of listening to somebody's voice, that Bobby's voice might be the voice that I've heard the most, potentially in my life, definitely, surely in my adult life, in terms of just pure time. That was big to me. Tiny Tim, okay, tiptoe through the tulips, tar baby to ya. Why? Okay, welcome. Tiny Tim, tiptoe through the tulips. That was an interesting one. An aside, I've listened to that song, but so anyway, 10,000 hours, consistently the most. Good morning, tar baby. I can't believe I said that out loud. Oof, it doesn't feel right. I am sorry if that was offensive to anyone. So anyway, consistent voice in my adulthood, and what it meant for me, what I think about the fact that it's every day listening. It's actually, this isn't about fandom, right? It's not about obsessing or oohing and eyeing over a star. It's basically, it's like been companionship for me, like together. It's just woven into it. The music, it always, not always, but frequently seems to be something in the music that, as I'm thinking about something or working on something within myself or my world, there's an inspiration from Hunter's words or Bobby's emotion, or it's just yeah, I'm geeking out a little bit on it. But the point is, for me, the relationship was not relational. It was just about presence. It's not. It's just woven into my day, woven into my morning, my day all day long. I drive at work, whatever it might be, and over time, as I became and am becoming, it just has merged into my life, and so um, that's pretty cool. And that's basically what we're trying to do here, or what we are doing here on Mornings in the Lab. That's part of the ethos of the Grateful Dead that I bring with me, along with just being a welcome, generous, and curious community, open community. I'm bringing that ethos of showing up every day. I want to be, and I want you to be part of my life, and have this connection. So please keep coming back. 7:30 a.m. every day. I will be here, and I hope you will too, because we're building a really cool community at Mornings in the Lab and right here on Kindness Rising. Absolutely. So we're going to keep going with the Bobby Weir theme. But I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, because I could sit here and I could grieve and tell stories about going to see Bobby myself and things I've learned, which I've shared a little bit, but uh, I'm trying to apply it to what we're talking about, and I'm going to talk about what I observed, what I lived with Bob Weir and its relationship to what we're doing here. And I want to talk about him as the band leader. He became the band leader. When he started, remember, he was 17 years old, walked into a banjo shop, a bunch of older guys hanging out, jamming. This wicked, dyslexic, special education supported, lost, wandering kid trying to figure it out. He talks about his own struggles, how deeply dyslexic he is. He's never read a note of music in his life, which is pretty amazing to me when you look at his catalog. So thanks, Mom. I appreciate it. It is sympathy. It's amazing. It's amazing. Thank you. I appreciate your sympathy. But here's the thing. So Bobby went from being the little kid brother, the sidekick. Jerry Garcia was this amazing like force, the Papa Bear, the myth, and Bobby was the little buddy. It was like Gilligan's Island there with the skipper and Gilligan. But then Jerry died. He died in 1995. Bobby played the rest of his career longer than he was with Jerry in the band. So, and so he had a chance to emerge. But I also thought about, and I'm a little all over the place there, I thought about what losing Jerry must have meant for him privately, to lose his friend, this cultural father figure. He talks about, spending every day with him and how he was just a part of him, right? And then to wake up literally and be like, what happened? We have no center anymore. He emerged as the center. He didn't see, and it's never been about himself. It's never been about himself. It's always been about the music. It's always been about pushing things forward. It's always been about making change and bringing community together. And it became about teaching for him in his later years and joining other people on stage. There was a saying a thing, a Weir Everywhere, because he was everywhere for a while, particularly as his career was ending before Dead and Company began regularly touring again. He would just show up. He would just show up, and everybody wanted him. So he would just show up and be on stage playing as a musical guest with other people, but it wasn't about being on stage or being the musical guest. It was about sharing that experience together. And a lot of tributes from artists who had the blessing to have that experience have been out there talking about it. So that's what it became for him. It became about impact and carrying forward. And I think that's natural, obvious, and it's something place where I'm kind of at in my life. Like, okay, now it's time to start thinking about those kind of things while I'm continuing to build. So yeah, it was pretty cool. And what I love about Bobby's leadership style was he was never out. He was always in the background a little bit, even on stage. He didn't lead with big speeches, or some kind of like crazy showmanship up, up front. It was just presence, craft, continuity, kindness, caring, seeing himself as an understanding how he was just one arm of, or one head. They call it the six-headed monster, but still being there as the leader. I remember seeing him, in the later years, in the way he would communicate with the other artists, and almost telepathically, but he just knew. And so that was his leadership style, was to support people coming up, to continue to hold the glue together of the uh, of the band, of the community, showing up. Absolutely. All right. How's it? Well, time is flying. I could go on and on. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing. It's my show. If I want to talk about Bob Weir and the leadership, I'll talk about Bob Weir and leadership, I guess. Not your usual show, but it is. There is a connection. There's just amazing connections for me. And what I want people to know, if you're still out there listening, is that for me, I was never the quintessential deadhead that people think of when they think of the Dead, whether it's now or in the 60s or whatever the case may be. I've worn plenty of tie-dyes, and I've hung out, and I've toured, and I've spent a couple of days in a car or van, but not the way some do, right? But enough that I know. I think I have credibility as far as the source goes, but and that's the whole point. Is I was never that kind of a deadhead. For me, it was always, even back in the 90s, I remember thinking this is just like being mind boggled by the improvisation, the ability for, I just said it before, six people. If you listen to their music, the six people, if you listen, like, I've heard tracks broken down, it's like, what am I listening to? And then it comes together and it's amazing, and it flows, and they know where each other are going. And that was what I always connected to, that improvisation, that connection, that flow, that vibe, right? And it was always about curiosity. It was about risk taking, about trying things that were not anything that was ever done before. And of course, it was weirdness as authenticity, community without presence. I wrote a few of these down. Permission to evolve, right? Gentle grace as they aged. So, I mean, for me, it's like, I've always said this about the Dead as I start to wind down here. If you get it, you get it. Not in an arrogant way, but just like, this is me. This is who I am. And I confident in the alignment of the ethos of what they do. And that just has become part of me and part of who I am. And my mother will tell you that that's literally part of who I am, because I have it tattooed on my body, but not the usual dancing bears or skulls, skull and roses, or those kind of things. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but of course I have a steal your face. Steely is a symbol for me of individuality, of freedom of expression, of community, those kind of things. But most people know the steal your face is the skull with the lightning bolt. I know people have seen it. If not, I'll show it to you sometime. My tattoo instead of a lightning bolt, has an overlapped Christian cross and Star of David. And that's my family. That's what's at the center of me. My mother is a Catholic. My father is a Jewish person. Those overlaps sit at my core. The skull, that still represents my individuality and my freedom. And then I have my roots, and that's my daily symbol of my origin, but also of where I am becoming. So to me, that's the ethos, that's the dead, and it's why Bobby mattered. It's why Bobby mattered. So for me, that individual freedom, but remembering the roots. Absolutely. All right. And of course, it wouldn't be a day at Kindness Rising without me reminding you that I come here every weekday morning, 7:30 a.m. Eastern, to help us rise with a little hope, a little humanity, and a little heart. And I do have to make the connection between what we're doing here on the show and what we're doing on in the Mornings in the Lab network, and make that connection to what we're talking about. So I talked about improvisation. Well, certainly when I go live every day, it's somewhat of an improvisation. It's becoming even more and more of an improvisation. And the part that I love improvising the most is interacting with folks in the chat, in the comments, and afterwards too. Certainly I can get up here and talk for 30 minutes, and that's great. But if it's not connecting, and we're not connecting through that, and not having influence, and that's not influence. It's impact. I'm saying impact, not influence. I hope I have impact. I hope I have impact on one person every day that I show up here, and I'll feel pretty good about that. FR 8157, 2 lives, question mark. I don't know where you're headed with that, but 2 live crew, what are you talking about? We're winding down here anyway, and we're talking about how Kindness Rising reflects what the Grateful Dead represented. Curiosity, always learning, always exploring new things, new people coming in, new influences, whatever the case may be. Generosity, certainly my mission of multiplying kindness and unlocking growth for good people doing good work aligns with that idea of generosity. Community is in the live chats, it's in the comments, it's in the conversations, it's in the guest appearances that are coming here real soon, and in some of the things that we're going to be building even more related to our community. It starts with you all subscribing to the channel as we build this community. Weirdness, we get a little weird here sometimes. I think Sensei Whiskers and Reggie and Rusty, who aren't making an appearance today, but they'll be back. So a little bit of weirdness. It's okay for us to get weird, and permission to evolve. We're building this thing in real time, just as the Grateful Dead did. Bobby said in an interview, I'm trying to remember near the same quote of what he said. I should have written it down. He talks about following the muse a lot. He talks about following the muse. There was no plan. There's no plan. We just showed up and we played and we dealt with things as they came. Yeah, they had plans eventually, but the whole point was, the whole idea of the Grateful Dead was no plan. It was just, we're going to be out there. So I had way more content, believe it or not, than what time allows. And maybe I'll talk about Bobby throughout the week in other ways. But this is what I want to leave you with, is that he lived a long life. He played his music almost until the end. He mentored young musicians. He kept showing up. He didn't have to. He didn't have to, but he did. He showed up. And for that, I am grateful. And for that, I know my music doesn't stop. It's just going to change shape. And here it becomes kindness. So come on back, 7:30 tomorrow morning. Join us for more Kindness Rising. I appreciate all of you. Until then, stay uncommon and stay kind.
Okay, Matt, we got the memo about the Kindness Rising promo, but what exactly are we promising people?
And is there craft services? Hey, I need snacks too.
Gentlemen, focus. Kindness Rising multiplies kindness and helps people get up on the right side of the bed.
So wait, we're not doing another angry headline show.
Exactly. We rise above the negative, divisive noise.
Translation, less rage bait, more high fives for humanity. And this is live, like actually live.
Yep. We go live on YouTube and LinkedIn, 7:30 a.m. Eastern every weekday.
Wait, if it's live, what if I forget my lines?
Then you improvise.
Okay, so our tagline is basically wake up, tune in, and start your day with kindness.
Exactly. Kindness Rising. Good vibes, practical tips, and a reason to get up on the right side of the bed.
You heard the boss. Subscribe now before he makes us do a TikTok dance.
Kindness Rising. Wake up, tune in, and let's make some good noise.